Teenage Helen can't cope after the birth of her baby daughter. She says, "I could only clasp her to me all of the time and feed and wake her and feed her again. And I would get up in the middle of the night in the safe little flat with the rotting windows and curtains. I was changing her and singing to her when I could not keep the dishes clean and cook and hold her. I loved her. It circled in the air that I loved her and that I needed to look after her properly. But the time was so confusing. Was it day? Was it night? The fluorescent kitchen light would hum at me and the clock leered at me. I knew I had to wash, but wash what? The curtains, the bee, the dishes? And she would scream at me, my beautiful little bee, screaming bee. And they took her away from me for good after 3 weeks. They, the machine, the council, the hospital, social services. The system took her to better parents, older parents, ones with a similar ethnic background. But 20 years later, living alone in her small flat, there's a knock at Helen's door and her bee, her Lily, has finally returned, full of questions. Questions that Helen is unwilling to answer. And Lily is full of discontent. Helen watches her headstrong daughter launch from relationship to relationship. Andrew fathers her daughter and Kingsley fathers her son. But Kingsley's temper puts Helen's grandbees in danger, and Helen must find the courage to step in, confronting the fears that haunt her the most. Helen and the Grandbees is described as uplifting and engaging by the national press. It was inspired by my volunteer work in London. When I started writing it, I thought that Helen and the Grandbees was about the deprivation that isn't reflected in the pages of glossy location magazines. What I realised by the end was that it's also a letter to myself, that I needed to leave London and be closer to my family.